Hello and welcome to VOP This Morning. Today is Friday. It's the eve of the weekend. Well, I think that's what it means when we hear the term, thank God it's Friday. Well, I'm Moses Humphrey, and today on the show, we'll be looking at the hard stuff, but from a lighter side. Nigerians stranded in Sudan have finally been evacuated. But how do we resettle them? Plus, can we spare a thought for those stranded in their own country trying to fly from Lagos to Imo State or from Imo State to Lagos? Well, these two topics are on our focus this morning, and we invite you to be part of the show. All right, we'd like for you to follow us up on YouTube. It is Voice of the People TV on YouTube, and on Instagram and Twitter, VOPTV Live. But first, let's head to the papers and see what the cover page of most newspapers or some newspapers look like this morning. All right, stay with us. And I do have joining me for newspaper review, the headlines basically. VOP in-house public affairs analyst Cyril Abaku. Good morning to you, Cyril.
Good morning, Moses.
All right, so let's go straight to it now. We do have a few dailies that we'll be looking at this morning, and on VOP news headlines this morning. Well, we'll take a break. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll get into the newspaper headlines. All right, now let's get back to the papers. Starting off with the Nation newspaper this morning, we do have on top of the nameplate on the cover page, Adamawa wreck, others get bail. Interesting story there. Declaring Binani not wrong. That's the rider to that one. President-elect promises judicial reform, judges' welfare a priority. House okays 1 trillion naira loan for federal government. 70% of private school teachers in Southwest unqualified. All right, now right underneath the nameplate, there is a pictorial that has this rider. Reps condemn disruption of flights by Labour. Osimhen delivers Serie A title to Napoli. All right. And outburst, this is the major headline, outburst on inauguration. Onayekon comes under fire. Senior lawyers knock cleric for questioning president-elect's swearing in. DHQ, nothing will stop May 29 event. All right. And another headline here, accept tribunal verdict. Gowon tells Atiku, Obi, others, it's time to move on. Gambari advises. And underneath another pictorial that shows Sudanese returnees. Nigerians returning from Sudan says Sudan evacuees, our experience harrowing. And NDDC seeks reps approval for 2.28 trillion naira, 3-year budget estimate. All right, so these are the headlines we have on the cover page of the Nation newspaper. Cyril, go ahead.
Oh, well, the Sudan evacuees, we are glad that finally they are back home. We're happy that provisions have been made by private individuals, of course, to resettle them, to see how they go back to their families, to see how they... So it's cheering news, really, in spite of the hassle, in spite of the harrowing experience that they went through, which was needless in the first instance. Mm. Yes, but it's a good thing they're back home. Life is more important than anything else. You can't equate life with luggage. You can't equate life with even with a certificate, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. You cannot even equate life with an education, I mean, broadly speaking. So it's a good thing that they're back home. At least they can go back to their families. They can find peace. They can find the tranquility that they suddenly lost in Sudan. The war in Sudan, I think that what Nigeria must now begin to do is to come into the picture.
Like show some active interest.
Yes, and to drive again this, because the African voice has not been heard in the Sudan crisis. We've not heard anything about the African. I think that a lot of countries that are interested in Sudan for now are partisan. Quite frankly speaking, from the superpowers in Europe to Sudan's own neighbors, there's a heavy dose of partisanship. Of course, we're not saying Nigeria can bulldoze it and go and solve the problem, but I think that we cannot keep quiet when this sort of thing is happening in our backyard, because only too little the countries that directly contribute Sudan are watching very closely for what's going on. For example, Chad had a keen eye on Boko Haram, you know. So by the time Boko Haram was trying to stretch its tentacles, its tent into Chad, they gave them a bloody nose. Yeah, so you cannot afford to be silent. I don't think that everybody who represents Nigeria should have left Sudan. You still need to have your eyes and ears on the ground, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Because yes, I mean, so it's important. First of all, again, thank God our compatriots are back. We salute you. We salute your courage. There was even this scene where after they got on the plane there, they were singing the national anthem. I mean, yes, it's a national speech. You don't have another country, in spite of all her woes and troubles. You know, I mean, you didn't fly to Ethiopia. You didn't fly to Madagascar. You came back home. It's your country.
There's no place like home.
Of course, there's a place like home. So it's good. They should come back and eat amala and onono and so on. So it's good to have them.
All right then. So we'll probably leave out other topics for another time, like topics like House okays 1 trillion naira loan for federal government, 70% private school teachers in Southwest unqualified. The 1 trillion naira loan. One would wonder what that is for. because we seem to be, and especially the fact that this government is going in less than 25 days.
What the president has failed to do is what he has always failed to do.
What the president has failed is what he has always failed to do.
Yes, what he has failed to do, what he's failing to do now,
is what he
has always failed to do, which is to rise up to the occasion and show leadership. We have said it. Now, you would hear his sympathizers and handlers say things like, what is happening is not against any law. And we've said that a manager is a manager because there's a manager's handbook. And he will tell you about legality and illegality and so on. But a leader goes beyond what is in the book to show compassion, to show morality, to show personal example, to show understanding, to show empathy, to show solid understanding of what is going on. The law can't cover everything, for goodness sake. The law can't cover everything. So, for example, in the house, somebody who is managing the kitchen tells you you eat 3 times a day. That's fine. But a leader understands that when you have children, okay, sometimes they could be between breakfast and lunch.
There could be something.
There could be snacks.
Nibble on.
That's leadership. But somebody says, no, you're going to have breakfast, you're going to have lunch, you're going to have dinner. You will kill the children. So this is the point. The president cannot step beyond whatever thing it is to say that, look, we cannot be releasing trillions and upon trillions when we have just a few days to go. One, you do not know the political direction of your successor, because all that glitters cannot be gold. When he comes to the office, when he sees the reality on the ground. You know, in Buhari's own case, he was even very fortunate, because when he came, they said they were going to meet an empty treasury. It was not true, it was a lie. Because when the very first week President Buhari came into office, he gave Chad $50 million to fight Boko Haram. Where did the money come from? That same year, I think a few months down the line, they gave bailout to states. They didn't print all those monies. Those were monies left in the coffers for him to spend. If by the time a new government comes, there are only 3 ways by which government gets money. You can beg, donor grants and so on. You can beg, you can generate through taxes and levies, taxation, IGR, right? And then number 3, you can borrow. So if you've already over-borrowed, if you've already borrowed this, this much, how do you now expect the person coming in? Because there will be a lot of constraining before they can even think of how to breathe and where to live. So and besides that, when you're releasing this large amount of money from this to that, it gives us the feeling some people just want to quickly move money like
as much money.
That's theft. That's theft, Mr. President. That's theft.
All right then.
You don't run government this way. So please, it's an appeal. Moses, where we are now, it's as if every week or every day you hear new sons of new trillions. Because this thing now, NDC has brought their own. Yesterday it was not environment. There's the name they called it. Ways and means.
Ways and means, yes.
The other week it was ATFEC. So it means that with each passing day, each passing week.
Before May 29.
And those are the ones that go to press.
The coffers.
And those are the ones that go to press. So please, I think we should make this a discussion sometime. This last minute approvals, what are they for? And you'll be shocked that in just a month to the end of President Buhari's regime, we would have spent regime. We would
administration.
Regime.
Administration.
Okay. Well, we would have spent more than what so maybe we would have spent even in 8 years. It's a possibility. With the way we are going, how much is the national budget? 14.something trillion, and Ways and Means alone is going 22.7 trillion. Are you who wants to fool who? Please.
All right, let's take that in and move on to another paper. We have the Punch newspaper now. Banner headline for the Punch newspaper: May 29 handover. Again, military warns saboteurs. Go on. Counsels petitioners. Threats to new president inauguration will be promptly dealt with, says Defense Headquarters. Kiyamo knocks on Naekon for saying Tinubu shouldn't be sworn in before tribunal verdict. All right. And on top of the nameplate, Federal Roads FG pays states 859.7 billion naira in 8 years. Government agencies, military or electricity firms, Senate, reps raise Buhari's extra budgetary spending to 23.7 trillion naira. And now there's a pictorial in the cover page of the Punch newspaper, and it has some military personnel with two young ladies carrying babies, and it has this writer, troops kill 40 insurgents, rescue 2 Chibok girls. So these are Chibok girls with their daughters. They look like girls that you're carrying.
Yeah, of course, they're daughters.
Yeah. And then 70% Southwest private school teachers unqualified, TRCN says. 25-year-old dredging firm worker drowns in Lagos River. Sudan, second batch of stranded Nigerians arrive today. All right, so we still have more coming in.
Of course.
Oh, well, this is what we have from the cover page of the Punch newspaper.
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
The issue of teachers in the Southwest unqualified. You know that when Governor Rufai came on board in Kaduna, he had the same thing. He organized competence tests for teachers in Kaduna. So this problem exists both in the private and public sectors, clearly. And Moses, believe me, people talk about proliferation of churches. You only need to know how many schools you have in one local government alone in any state of the country, and you'll be amazed that education, teaching, whatever, school business is huge, big business. Now, what do? Since we cannot afford not to go to school, and since jobs must be created because of the alarming rate of joblessness, right? It's not enough to say, once you're done with your university, go for NYSC. What you do with your service must be in the classroom. What we need to do now is to begin to equip our people with teaching skills. Because as it is almost looking like it's inevitable that everybody must teach. I've taught before. All right? It's now looking as if everybody must wind up a teacher at some point. So somehow, like they do in Israel has compulsory drafting, which is to say you cannot be an Israeli without having undergone military training. South Korea has the same policy. Can we have the same policy in education to say everybody, because that will also be a way of raising the literacy bar. To say compulsory drafting in education, you must have, even if it's a 6-month training. We're not training you to become a career teacher. If you want to be, you can. But we are training you with skills for the classroom. That if you find yourself teaching, it's not even right that you study mass communication, you study marketing, or you study, let's even say, sociology.
And you cannot transfer the knowledge.
Or that because of that, when you go to school, they say, okay, go and start teaching. You might have read marketing or sociology and you're teaching English language. There's a distance between. So what I think we should do now is to equip people, even if it's a 6-month course, everybody get involved in learn classroom teaching skills. And we can market it. I mean, it could even be online for a token or for nothing, You go online, you learn, so that this way teachers can be qualified, and because people will teach.
People must teach and people must be.
Our children must go to government schools alone can no longer contain the population of people that need to go to school, from nursery to primary to secondary. Even the argument as had the federal government was the issue of the fact that a lot of lecturers are teaching in more than one institution. Some lecturers are teaching up to 3-4 institutions, and they're taking salaries in all these places and so on. The solution is not to fight the lecturers. The question is, why don't you have enough hands? There are too many people who should be teaching, even those who are teaching in schools, are running away from Nigeria. And we're not bothered about that. So how do we revamp education and make sure that we are able to attract quality talent back to the classrooms? I think that should be the burden for conversation, and not just raising the report to say they are unqualified. Yes, we know. I mean, some parents are going to have is an alarm, but there should be a solution to it, really.
All right, then. Let's get on to some other daily now. Nigerian Tribune has this headline: Our ordeal, returnees from Sudan recounts. 4 aircraft conveying about 400 returnees being expected. FG mobilizes 2 Nigerian airlines. Sudanese local airline. No Nigerian who wishes to come home will be left behind. Humanitarian Affairs Minister blames third-party vendors for glitches. And that one has a pictorial of the returnees there. Now, on top of the nameplate, we have these headlines. 70% of private school teachers in Southwest unqualified to teach. TRCN, that's also in some other dailies. I will support education until I leave planet Earth. Afe Babalola speaks. Reps want dead voters removed from INEC register. So we still have that problem. Interestingly. APC crisis. Lukman writes Adamu, NWC apologizes for embarrassing party leadership. Confirms withdrawing suit against national chairman, secretary. All election petitions should be decided before inauguration of government on Naikon. And gunmen kill 3 policemen, cut away arms in Anambra. No cause for concern over May 29 inauguration, DHQ. All right, so those are the headlines we have from the Nigerian Tribune.
2 stories that require...
Tickle your fancy.
Yes. One, the DHQ is saying that they will deal with anybody who...
A saboteur who will...
So I till now, the DSS has not told us the people that they said were found to be holding meetings. That's a grievous issue. People were, not that they found evidence, they said that they are aware they be holding nightly meetings at locations. What did they get? Who are these people?
Who are these people? And who are you threatening, really?
And if the defense headquarters that's supposed to be looking at what's happening in Sudan and among our neighbors,
are concentrated on the elections,
and now turning attention
into
domestic issues of inauguration, it's fine. If government wants to violate the law and get them to be the ones who take the lead in dealing with people who want to truncate democracy in Nigeria, they should talk to the DSS first. Get the intelligence, or maybe they just have the, because there is Air Force intelligence, Army intelligence, Navy, Naval intelligence, then there is Defense intelligence itself. Okay? And then there's the office of the NSA. So I'm wondering, why haven't they collaborated? Because tomorrow you hear there's intelligence. Why haven't they, between when DSS spoke and it's a long time for them to look, if they really mean to look into this.
Or maybe they don't want to make it a public thing. Maybe they're just keeping the information to
matter
themselves.
that is about to put the public into a tailspin. I think they should talk to the DSS, get the files, look at it, vet it, and then maybe, make arrest. Why wait until May 29 to see whether people are going to disrupt the day? Why don't you make the arrest at once to prevent, to forestall? I thought prevention, they say, is better than what?
Cure.
So that's my own counsel to the defense headquarters. The other issue you raised about Onayekon. I think Onayekon was being fair because ideally, and that was the recommendation of the Evacuees panel that Yaradua set up before now, 2007, when he came into office, admitting that the election that brought him to power was seriously flawed. He raised the panel by retired CJ and Evacuees, Mohamed Lawal Evacuees. He recommended that election petitions should be settled before
inauguration.
Look, it is not civilization for you to have
a president.
I'm coming. You will even hear them bring pre-election matters. That was the thing that brought Amaechi to become governor. Matters that happened within the party. That didn't even a petition is about election took place. I'm not satisfied and I seek redress. So why do we bring an intra-party issue and bring a lot bit way into the election and into post-election? I think that there's a law that says that all pre-election matters must end before the election, so that the election suit only takes care of election issues. There's a way we went from mortar and pestle to the blender. before the matter episode, there was this stone you used to grind at the grinding me. We should not be behaving like people who have not. So what I believe on Aiko meant was this. Actually, it is not, it may be legal permissible, but does it make sense that there's a, that there's a contest for power, one person has won, fair enough. Then there's a challenger that says, I don't think, maybe we could even say that depending on the category of evidence being presented, the candidate that won could be sworn in or not. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If there are, to say, if the evidence is not criminal, the candidate that won can be sworn in while the matter continues. But if the evidence being presented to the court is is weighty, then we can pend it. I don't. What we should be thinking of is how can we even work our laws? Because I mean, if you swear the person in, whether it's a governor, and this is not just about president-elect, whether it's a governor, local government chairman, assembly member, we've seen in Nigeria that they would often use the paraphernalia of state to influence the outcome of the judgment, which is what I think any right-thinking person should guard against. I don't think it's an unfair comment. People who are calling the revered cleric to task, I don't think that, because in future we will come to this point. So people told us that we couldn't use electronic voting and transmission was impossible. Moses, there are places in Adamawa where you will travel 2 days to get to those locations. Why? So in Nigeria that will do election, we are not America. We don't have the money America has. We don't have the sophistication America has. But even America, that is the giant of the world, will do elections in 1 day. All you need to do, Estonia, small country like Estonia, are so digitally advanced. You won't believe what they do with technology. So why can't we just get the
elections in a day?
In a day, Nigeria, you do election on Saturday. We wait for results on Sunday, on Monday, on Tuesday. The whole nation is grounded. Come on. If we lack the will and the brains to do what is right, not all Nigerians are in that same category. I think some of us are thinking, we won't come into the age of AI. And you can't imagine, AI can give us, we can do elections without even involving people anymore. The way AI is going. So why shouldn't we be thinking ahead of time? Please.
All right, that's a task at the doorstep of INEC, and we do hope that in the future they'll probably address it and do things a lot more smoothly. All right, let's move on to the Vanguard newspaper now, and I like the way the Vanguard tags this banner headline: "Escape from Sudan, with gunfire all over. We thought we'll never see home again. Returnees tell tales of woes." And one says, "I had said my last prayers, waiting for the worst. Student, we were sexually harassed, broke, stole to survive. Students, we paid money to be allowed to urinate. We paid to bath, brush teeth, etc. Nigerian officials starved us for 12 hours. We literally saw death, but Nigeria came through. I feared for my children's safety in Sudan. Nigerian father. Refusal of Nigeria mission to pay visa fees delayed our evacuation. FG gives each returnee 100,000 naira cash gift. Asman Air to airlift second batch." All right, so yes, that basically gives you an insight into the plight of these people that just got back from Sudan.
I will leave this matter because it's one of our discussion topics this morning.
Yes, okay, great.
There is need for a proper inquiry into what really happened. And you put blame where blame should be put. If you need to discipline some people, I mean, deal with it so that in future we don't fall into this mess anymore.
All right then.
Please.
All right, so let's touch on some of the headlines from the Vanguard as well. We have top 10 banks pay 260.3 billion naira as income tax. Swearing in Tinubu before tribunal's judgment makes no sense on IECOM. Tinubu will be sworn in, avoid murky waters of politics, Kiyamo counters. Election dispute. Allow judiciary decide, Gowon tells Atiku, Obi others. Troops kill 79 terrorists in Northwest, rescue 136 abducted victims. Ekweremadu, Ekweremadu, no fate today. That's Ekwerimadu's no fate today. Industrial court stops NLC TUC strike in Imo. All right, so those are headlines that we have from the Vanguard newspaper. Unfortunately, we can't continue with the analysis as we have to go on to another part of the show. All right, so up next on VOP this morning, evacuees. They have arrived, well, some of them have arrived from Sudan, and we're expecting some more today. But the question is, are we doing enough to resettle them? Well, that conversation will come up in a bit. Stay with us. Bikon.
We're live actually. Did you? Okay. All right, welcome back. Now a total of 300.
Oh God, you decided to stay behind the cameras and do some production activity, leaving me here all by myself.
I was with you in the spirit.
In the spirit.
You know, we connect sometimes. All right.
So welcome back indeed.
Welcome back. Okay, now this segment particularly is concerning 376 Nigerians who, fleeing the Sudan crisis, and they have arrived Abuja in what is now the first batch of a government-assisted evacuation exercise. Now, the evacuees arrived in an aircraft owned by Evacuees and the Nigerian Air Force, which conveyed the evacuees from Aswan in Egypt to Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Now, while Evacuees conveyed 282, NAF conveyed 96 evacuees. And this is according to the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Umar Farouk. Now, interestingly, if you do know that when these evacuees, before they arrived, it was quite a tussle. We're hearing several information as to what caused them to have not arrived on time. Well, it is part of the situation that we'll be talking about this morning. Now, both aircraft arrived minutes apart. The Minister of Disaster Management and Humanitarian Affairs, Ms. Farouk, said the government of Nigeria is happy that all of them are back safely, no lives lost, which is the most important thing. And of all the efforts put in place have not gone in vain. She added that the evacuees would arrive and receive dignity parks and 100,000 naira as transportation supported by the Dangote Foundation. They will also receive 25,000 naira worth of call vouchers and a data bundle of 1.5 gigabytes from MTN. An interesting one, isn't it? Now, we have right here in the studio Dr. Olatunbi. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
How are you?
Very fine, Mr.
And of course, we have joining us virtually Kunle, right? Kunle Akirili.
John Akirili.
Oh, John Akirili. John Akirili. John, good morning.
John. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Okay, so now we all know what transpired for Nigerians who were stuck in Sudan. We saw the process it took to eventually convey them down here. It got to a point their buses caught fire on the road. They were assisted by the rapid support group of in Sudan, those who are part of the ongoing war there. And then, of course, we also heard that they were stuck in the desert at some point while they were on transit because the money was not yet complete, according to the drivers of those vehicles. Eventually, we'll have about 300 and something of them who have arrived, assisted by Alan Oyema's Airpeace, along with the Nigerian Air Force, Asman Air. So here is the scenario. What do you think these, would I say, students plus, the other residents who have one or two things doing in Sudan, how do you think this whole process has psychologically affected them?
At least I want to appreciate the government for trying to evacuate Nigerians from Sudan down here. But over the week, it's been a very hard tussle for them. They've been on this journey for over a week. They were in Egypt, and from Egypt they were there for like 4 to 5 days before eventually coming down to Nigeria. War and any crisis affects people both physically and emotionally. Physically, probably injuries, dislocations, death of loved ones. Emotional affectation of this war is the most important thing to even check it about. We have depression, anxiety. There's something we call post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, because when they start thinking about what has happened before, losing your loved ones, losing someone that you've been together for a long time, is actually one thing we should actually check into consideration. The federal government have tried by giving them money, but I feel they should check about this psychological effect of this war for these people coming down to Nigeria. I think they should even create a program, even if it's a 2 weeks program or even 1 month program, to try to support them psychologically, because psychological affectation is even more than physical affectation sometimes.
What about the Nigerians who have eventually decided to settle down in Sudan? Like, that place is their main residence now. They don't have any accommodation right here. What do you think is going to happen? They're here now. Where would they be placed?
That's it, because 100,000 naira is just nothing
for now.
Because it's just 100,000. Okay, they want to settle down. They'll go and rent an apartment. where is the apartment of 100,000 for how many months? So I think they should actually have an extensive program for these people, not just letting them to go back to their family. Some people don't even have a family there. Some people have been staying there for years. Now they're back to starting from the scratch. I think the government should work more on their psychological evaluation and examination.
All right. John. Hello, John.
I'm here. I can hear you.
All right, great. Well, I can't exactly hear you clearly, but I know you can hear me. Now, let's look at some of the complaints that the returnees have given. They said they paid monies to use the bathroom. They paid monies to brush. They went through what one would call harrowing experiences. Now, as put by one of the dailies, the Vanguard newspaper put this as saying that some of them said they said their last prayers. They said we were sexually harassed.
Wow.
We stole to survive. They had to, go through all of that. I mean, for somebody to say, look, I had to do this. I was broke and I had to steal to survive. I will take it that it wasn't, the person wasn't proud of doing that, but it was something that, they just had to do to get food in their tummy. Now, what do you think, how do you think the government should, I'll use the word rehabilitate these people before they are made to go back home to their families, because they must have been traumatized, greatly traumatized. What should the government do now?
Thank you for having me. I think the bigger trauma that they are having is the fact that they're returning home. And that's the bigger trauma.
Well, we do have...
And that's more like a threat to them.
Hold on, John. If you can hear me, I would like for you to hold your thoughts. We'll take a little break, rectify some issues, and come back and take your thoughts on this. So let's go on a very short break.
Okay.
All right, welcome back. Now, I believe that we can hear you a lot better now, John.
Okay, that's good.
All right, great. Okay. Yes, we can. So go ahead with your
response.
I think the first question we should ask is, why did these people leave Nigeria in the first place? If Nigeria was a working system, they wouldn't have the reason to have left. Now they've gone there out of their own volition and will to find a better life for themselves. And here they are. They have come at this roadblock. Coming back home for them is more of a bigger trauma. And I think this is where the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should work more on one, profiling. Okay? Let's know the number of Nigerians that are in Sudan, either legally or illegally. Those who are legal, can we have their profile? Can we have their family members? When did they move from Nigeria to where they are now? And who are the family members that you can trace back? That's the first thing we should do. The second thing we should do, again, is to look at the fact that how many of them are students? How many of them are working? How many of them own a business in Sudan? How many of them have a family in Sudan? This is another thing that we must do, communal profiling. it's only when you have this profile and you have all this data that you can now look at different programs that you can bring up. Let's say, for instance, somebody who is a secondary school student in Sudan, and the person is coming back home. Are you going to enroll such in our own local school here, or you are going to enroll such a person into extracurricular activities or into homeschooling or something? So the best thing is, after you must have done your psychological rehabilitation, I think the mindset orientation is very, very key and very important. They must look at the reasons why they have left Sudan and now they are back in Nigeria. Now, either you want to go back to Sudan or not, what can you do as now that you're in Nigeria? There is war in Sudan or civil unrest in Sudan. You can't go back, so it's not safe for you. But now that you're here, what are the things that you can do? So these, I think, they will give options. Some of them will tell you want to learn a skill. Some of them want to learn a trade. Some of them want to start buying and selling. And these are what will come from the profiling. And once that is done, then the government can now look at emergency funds. You know, I think we have our National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, who can always say, okay, we have some funds that have been allocated for such a scenario. Okay, in case of unrest, civil unrest, in case of war or riots, in case of earthquake or any natural disaster. These are palliative measures that should come to people like this. And I think 100,000 naira, it's a good one, but it's just a pinch of a salt. That can only take them to buy food, but that cannot give them that sustainability that we're looking for. So on a long stretch, if the government is really sincere at helping these people, is to look at the ways by which you can integrate them back into the system systematically. Okay, it will be in stages, okay, and it will be in periods. Just like the NYS orientation for our corpers, we can also duplicate such a scenario for these our returnees. Some of them are students, some of them are business owners, some of them are family men and women. And so all of these are things I think they should do so that these people can, have this confidence that they are back and they are well taken care of. And the idea of going back to Sudan might not emanate from their brain again if the country works the way it ought to work.
Right, interesting look at things there. Now, the minister, I beg your pardon, the chairman CEO of Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa, did say that some schools will have to take them in. Schools are indicating interest to, take them in so they continue their education, and that is for the students. Now, the truth of the matter is, we have focused majorly on students. There are other people who are not students who went there to make a living. All right. So it's interesting that you said this. Now, let's also look at in getting them back into the system. Should we be concerned that a few of them might have been radicalized? Should we have that concern? John?
Well, I think that is why profiling for me is very, very key and important. Profiling for me is just like the foundation, to solving these problems. From profiling, there are so many things I can get from profiling. And that's why you can get to know the kind of person they are, what they've been doing in Sudan for about a decade or about 5 years or so. And then you can be able to see, if you say that somebody is being radical, there will be an iota of radicalism in him. Okay? And so such a person cannot just come to Nigeria and become a saint overnight. So when there's true profiling, you can get to see, the landmarks of what these people have been doing, their dealings in years past. And from that, you can decode or connote that this is what we can do to these people. And this is how we can help them, to rehabilitate them psychologically, mindset orientation and all of that before we can now integrate them back into society. Now, let's not forget also that Sudan, is a country that's a bit sensitive when it comes to some issues. And so when you have Nigerians who have been living in such a country for a very long period of time, then there will be this kind of skepticism. People will be skeptical about you one way or the other because you're from Sudan and you have lived over the years. So the government also, on its other hand, should look at how, you can bring up programs of de-radicalization. Okay, it might not be to the extreme like that of the Boko Haram repentant Boko Haram members, but then there's an iota of, being radical with these people. And so we must also look at how to combat this, with our own strategy so that we can have a balanced people and then we can have a sane society.
All right, Dr. Olatobi, this next question is for you. The reason why I'm specific about the psychological and mental state of these Nigerians is the fact that there was something that made them leave this country and they went to Sudan. Imagine a Sudan that has always been a war-torn country. Ever since 1956 that it supposedly gained their independence, Sudan has always had one coup d'etat or the other, literally being under a military regime. And you wonder why Nigerians will leave this, no matter how supposedly, would I say, a little bit fractured that things are in this part of the world. Some persons will say, oh, Nigerians are lucky to go all the way to reside in Sudan. I'm not even talking about the students who went there to study. Now, for you to go there, right, something made you leave your country. That very thing that made you leave here to go to a place like that is deep. Now, you're returning because you've now seen that that place is no longer comfortable. And you're coming back to a place that made you feel depressed, a place that made you think you have no opportunity, a place that made you feel you have no future in. So what do you think the psychological and emotional state of mind of these Nigerians will be now? Because the question is beyond the 100,000 naira they gave them or the 25,000 naira data kit that was given to them. It's about how do they now start surviving? How do they begin to recuperate their mind? So what is the process of debriefing with these Nigerians?
It's a sad situation for Nigerians over there, but I must say that traveling out of the country might not even be because of bad reasons. Some people just want to travel out of the country, just want to experience other cultures, just want to feel what is happening in Sudan. Let's just go and check other cultures. Some people go there for schooling, some people go there based on scholarship. You know, most of the people that actually there are, I think there's an Islamic scholarship for Muslims.
Yes.
So that's why most people,
state governors.
For state governors, that's why they go there. But this psychological effect of them coming back to the country, sometimes it might be positive and it might be negative for some people. We have some people in Sudan that are actually stranded over there. They are even looking for opportunities to come back to Nigeria. They don't have transport fare. They are looking for how to even come back. And I feel this is an opportunity for some of them to be like, oh, thank God this is happening. Let's come back home and let's come and retrace our steps. But I feel these steps to check these psychological effects, apart from the government's intervention, it's a call to NGOs, organizations to work with the government and try to have an orientation program. This is where psychologists comes into play.
Okay.
Psychologists come, what Mr. John has said, profiling is very, very important. Check how long have you been in Sudan? Okay, what work have you been doing in Sudan? Okay, what made you even leave the country? From there, they will know how to rehabilitate them back into the society. They cannot just tell them to go back into the society and start living like a normal people. No, people have gone through a lot of trauma. Sexual violence is one of the major trauma in during war, like what Mr. Mr. Moses has said about sexual violence. It's very, very common. Children are actually suffering more. Children, women, young people are actually suffering more from these things. So we shouldn't focus more on students. Let's even focus more on the young ones, the children, how they've suffered. Malnutrition is another thing. They've not been eating for days. And you know, when you are malnourished, you are predisposed to a lot of diseases, non-communicable diseases, cough, a lot of non-communicable diseases, and they are being jam-packed into one area. So they shouldn't even come into the society and start infecting people with this kind of thing. So the best thing the Nigerian government should have done is take them to an evaluation center, let them spend 2 weeks.
Okay.
These 2 weeks, they do physical examination, psychological examination.
So are you saying within the 2 weeks, the family members will not be able to see them?
No, the family members can come visiting, but at least they should just put a restriction. They should be visiting hours, visiting time, to let the family members know that, okay, we are just rehabilitating them back. After 2 weeks, they will come back to you. The family members is just for their own sanity, because
wouldn't that in itself traumatize them even more? Knowing that, okay, because of what they went through, they are being cordoned off from society.
No, it won't traumatize them if they do it in a well-mannered way. When they try to explain to them that, okay, we are doing these things for your own good, and they're giving them, when they're not putting them there, they shouldn't even make them remember the war. They should give them proper food, a proper environment, give them proper food, proper medical attention. They will be happy. Someone I have not eaten for days and you're still telling me I should come. And so they give them proper food, proper examination, and they'll be fine. After that, they can rehabilitate. They can take them back to the society. And one thing about psychological effects of war is that it even lingers on for years. 1 year, 2 years, you start having flashback of that incident and trigger something. So they should try and work on that. And I know the government will do that, and I pray they do that anyways.
John, hello. John, can you hear me? Yes, good.
I'm here.
Some of the Nigerians who returned, while they were trying to express themselves to a couple of their relatives who came to greet them or welcome them back home, and even to some Nigerian government officials who, tried to make them feel comfortable, they said something that may Nigeria never experience war. And for them to have told you that, it tells you that when we look at how things are going on here, and you hear some people trying to say, oh, let's exempt ourselves. We're no longer part of Nigeria. We no longer belong to this country because of certain situations that they're not comfortable with. One would tell you that, okay, do they understand the implication of the statements that they make? What's your take on that, especially for Nigerians who possibly feel the country is so bad that it's important for every region to just go their way? Do you think that's the best solution, especially from the experiences of these Nigerians who just returned from a war-torn country?
Thank you for that question. If you look at Sudan has been a troubled country for as long as I've known Sudan to be. And if you check it out, Sudan was a fraction of a bigger country before there was a split. Okay? And now there's a split, and there's still unrest. And I'll say to you, the problem we have in this country, Nigeria, is not about the country. It's not about people going their different ways. It's about leadership. And that is the problem we have, nothing more. No natural disaster. The disaster we have is about leadership. And so when you have true and inspirational leadership, the followers will come in line. I can say that to you boldly, any day, anytime. Now, we have different regions, okay? Majorly, we have 3, Hausas, Igbo, and Yorubas. Apart from that, we have other ethnic groups, over 220 of them, which means that we are not just one people, okay? We are one people with diverse tongue, diverse food, diverse culture and tradition, and diverse languages. And that means that we cannot come together. But we still see unity in our diversity. And that is what our leaders should preach more and, give people the true dividends of democracy. Let's have equity, fairness, justice. And you see that these agitations you are talking about, going their different ways, will become a thing of the past. I'm telling you boldly, that will just go away without any, exchanging of firearms or bullets. So the best thing we should do as a country is, yes, we are saying we should not experience war. Ukraine and Russia, they are having their own issues since, but there's light in Ukraine. Is Nigeria fighting war that we cannot even have constant electricity supply in Nigeria? Since they gave back to me, it has been like that, and until now it's still like that. And we are not fighting war. Others are even having war. They even have better solution than us that are not fighting war. And so people are pushed to the wall. They can tell you, it's not they will even fight war and let them be the way they are. But to be on a good side, we can say that we should not pray for war, we should not wish for war, but our leaders all across board, the local government, to your councillor, to your state governor, to your house of assembly, everybody who is in the position of authority should do the needful, work on fairness, justice, and equity, give democracy to the people, the electorate that elected you, and make sure that it's about service to public good and not for personal interest or personal gain. Then and then can we say we are truly one country. Then and then can every member of any ethnic group can say we are part of Nigeria, because we are all contributing to the federating unit called Nigeria. Okay? And that is why we must do the same thing across the board for everybody. Let's bring, everybody, all-inclusive governance. Let's bring either from the northeast, southwest, south, bring everybody together on a round table, and let's build this country together. Enough of, statements that will tear us apart? No. But rather, we can work together, even with our diverse tongue, and build a better nation that will now inspire leadership in our younger generations, because we have younger generations now. And the problem we have is transgenerational problem. And so I think this leadership, present leadership now, should take it upon themselves and see that this that they have now is for them to save a generation, so that Nigeria can be great again. And I believe Nigeria can be great again, if you ask me.
All right, talking about Nigeria being great and the perception of Nigeria in Africa, I'm not even talking about the world over now, in Africa alone, it seems troubling to me and to a lot of Nigerians. We saw what happened. as the evacuees made their way to Egypt, they were prevented from entering Aswan border. And that was basically, well, nothing was said as to why the authorities in Egypt prevented Nigerians, and they stayed at the border for days, I think 5 days or thereabouts. They were there. Eventually, the president had to call the Egyptian president, and then they were allowed in with conditions. One of the conditions were that they must ensure that, you know, their names and everything, that these are actually Nigerians, their passports verified that they are Nigerians, and then they would leave immediately. So one would wonder, we don't seem to command respect in Africa. And this is coming before you go on. I know you would say Nigerians, we are no longer the giants of Africa. Now, but what should we look at now? All right, what are the things that we should look at to address this in case there's another need to address Nigeria's image abroad and evacuate Nigerians from any other war-torn area abroad?
Thank you. I think the first thing we need to do is to make Nigeria work. And when Nigeria works, the respect you want from other countries will come naturally. When Nigeria becomes that hub, that industrial hub of the world, not only Africa, industrial hub of the world, then can we say that the respect you want to get from Egyptians, you get it naturally. Now, if Egyptian authorities are saying to you, they just want profiling, that's all. Nothing more. They want to know that truly you are Nigerians and that some other people are not using the same window, to escape Sudan, whereas they're not Nigerians, and then come into Egypt and cause chaos for them in Egypt. So they don't want such a thing. So all they are doing is profiling. And now the profiling is that once you come in, you are verified Nigeria, yes, come in. But once you are coming in, you are leaving our country, which means that they don't make provision for you to stay in Egypt. Now, that is where our bilateral trade and talk comes in. So what is the standing of Nigeria with Egypt as regard this Sudan crisis? Mind you, we must have existing relationship before now, but when there are critical times call for critical decisions. And I think at the point where there was this crisis at Sudan,
I beg to interrupt you. Talking about critical times, we saw India evacuate non-Indians. Indians evacuated non-Indians
even
to
Ukraine,
India.
Even
yes.
Russia as well.
Evacuated, and told people, okay, come and take your people from here. That shows strength. That shows a cordial relationship. Why is ours different?
That's why we're Nigerians. Ours is always different. Okay. I think on a more serious note, these are KPIs that is troubling, and that saddens my heart as a Nigerian. If an Egyptian or the Egyptian authority can say that, then is a very strong and sound language that we should not take lightly. If that can happen in Egypt, what do you think will happen in Morocco and South Africa? Yeah. These are still African countries. What do you think will happen in Ghana, even in Benin that is close to us? And so that is why leaders must understand that the projections, what we project out from Nigeria to the African countries should command respect, should show true leadership, should show commitment to people and governance as it speaks. Now, if Indians can evacuate non-Indians, it's because they have a large debt. And they feel that they can curtail all that they have a system that can control it. You can't go into India today and you say you want to run away. If you like, run anywhere, you will come back, because when you get to a point where you cannot get accommodation for yourself, you can't get food at a store, then you understand that you need to go back and do your documentation so that you can live like a normal person in India. But we don't have some of these structures. And I feel that this is now a call to action to our foreign, ambassadors to other countries, that they should come back home, have a good meeting with other ambassadors and see how we can project Nigeria as truly giant and see how we can correct some of these abnormalities that is happening. And so that Nigerians who are outside the shores of this country, Nigeria, will command that same respect, and then they will behave themselves in an orderly manner that respect will be them ordinarily. So for Egypt, I won't blame Egypt. That is their own procedure. That is their own methodology. Then the question now is, Nigeria, what is your own procedure and methodology as it relates to foreigners coming in or going out of the country?
All right, Dr. Olatunbi, one of the ambassador to Sudan, while he was welcoming them, Mohammed Yusuf, he said that very soon the situation there will be calm. That the army is already, it seems like the army has an edge to eventually resolve the crisis on there. But do you think at this point, with it, one can capitalize, or would I say contextualize the situation as a double horror situation, the horror of war and the horror of the process of getting evacuated? Do you think at some point that Nigerians will ever trust the ability of the federal government to help when critical situations like that come up?
Nigerians they are not going to trust the government, because the government have failed even we that are actually in this country without having any war. Not talk of people coming in from other countries. So I don't see any trust from these evacuees coming to the government. And they've been praying for ceasefire. They've been talking about ceasefire, and I think it's been going on. And the question is, are these people ready to go back to Sudan even after the war is over? Because I feel some of them will still want to go back. And what are the preparatory? What are we going to do for them to go back? Are we going to give them some sort of orientation, some sort of support to go back? Because some of them still need to continue their education over there. Some of them are in their final year. So all these things we still need to check into. And the Nigerian government needs to even support them more. This is the time we need to support them. Not even only Sudan, for more emergency situations like this. Because there are still going to be a lot of Nigerians in all other countries, Ukraine, everywhere you have Nigerians, and things like this might still happen. So the government should be proactive towards things like this. Next time, I think we should have an organization for a program drawn out for people that are actually experiencing war or any emergency situation out of the country. 5 years plan, 3 years plan is not bad enough. 3 years plan how to make sure that you support them physically, emotionally, financially. 100,000 naira, I think, is too small. They can still give them more. That's why I called for NGOs, people, philanthropists can actually help. We have only 345 now in Nigeria. There are still more coming. I think we're having over 5,000 people coming back.
All right.
So I think we should have an extensive program for these people.
Do you think that it is important for us to have more educational institutions? For example, you have an International University of Africa situated in Sudan, where one of the students who were telling some of their relatives there that he prays Nigeria never experiences war. Do you think we can have such collaborations where we have some universities, established in this part of the world that could, offer courses like international studies, whereby our Nigerian students who intend to study or who are inclined towards such careers do not have to go to neighboring countries to study? So if you have an International University of Africa, how come we don't have something like that here, besides the Pan-African University anyways? But we can have more of that available. That is one. Two, is it possible for the government to try as much as possible to resuscitate the educational structure, create an image of sincerity of purpose for our institutions, to encourage Nigerians' belief in the educational system, rather than having to go to countries that we seem to even have a better profile than to study?
That's one thing we need to work on, because the educational sector in this country needs to be overhauled. We need to check on it, because people still go to Benin Republic to school. And when you compare the educational, all they gain and here, Nigeria is far better than these countries.
They're speaking French.
But we need to work more. The educational sector needs to be checked into, creating more universities, building more universities, employing more lecturers, putting money in research, because these are the things that makes your educational system more better. Okay. Research, educational research, even international people who want to come. Gone are those days people come from the UK to study in Nigeria. Come to the University of Ibadan, had international people coming there to come and study. But now the reverse is the case. People want to go there, to go outside the country to study. It's not that because our educational system is not good. We have brilliant people. Nigerians are brilliant.
Because even we are studying in Nigeria, when we go out of the country to work, we perform better.
All right. Well, I honestly hope, I wish we could talk more, especially about the health part of these people, these Nigerians that just returned from Sudan. But time is really not on our side. But before we go, one last question to John Akirele. Are you still with us, John?
Okay.
All right, great.
I'm here.
Now, we heard the evacuees complain that they were starved for 12 hours. Well, they said Nigerian officials starved us for 12 hours. Now, let's look at this very quickly, too. In line with the fact that $1.2 million was, disbursed to evacuate them, and it's expected that the money should cover both transportation and welfare, and also to settle, whatever needed to be done to get them from Sudan to wherever they were evacuated from. And then we also had the embassy officials say that we didn't receive any money from anywhere, so don't blame us, don't harass us. What should we do differently now? This is what is before us. All right. What should Nigeria? Who should be held responsible?
I think it's a very straightforward question. There is a DG, a Director General, that heads that agency, and there is another agency that said they transfer the funds. There's also a director at that agency. So these two directors of these two agencies should be called out, and then the question should be asked: as at what time was this money transferred? As at what time did they get the money? So if A is saying he didn't get the money, B is saying I've sent money to A didn't get the money, is the money hanging in the air or something? So the point is that we're still going back to what I've been saying all along, is the sincerity of leadership. When our leaders will be sincere, to do things that they ought to do, that they will be responsible, in terms of delivering the dividend of democracy to the people, even to the political appointees. So it's so bad now that at this point in time, that these people are in their need of, medical checkup, welfare packages, mindset reduction and all that. Somebody are still somewhere pushing blames to each other. They get money or they did not get money. Yeah. That's the state of the country, and that should be corrected. So these two agencies, I think the president, even though I know he's tired and he can't wait to move to Daura or he moves to Nigeria, as he has said, he should just call on these two people with this few number of days that is remaining and ask these questions. These are people's children, these are people's uncles and aunties, these are people's fathers and mothers, and they are in the need of these funds. And these funds should be disbursed to them as quick as possible so that they can respond to some critical issues, and then we can have them back. They can be sane again. They can be balanced psychologically and mentally, and then we can say that they are Nigerians and they can be integrated back in society. But then you have said that these people should go into our Nigerian schools. Are you also saying to them that when they come into the Nigerian system, will strike not still happen again? If strike happen, these people will still be devastated again and again. And I think that does not happen.
Questions and more questions are rising, but we have to wrap up this segment of the show. I must say a very big thank you to you, Dr. Olawale Olatubi, medical practitioner. Thank you very much. And also to John Akirele, public affairs analyst. We do appreciate your contribution every time. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you for having me.
And another set of Nigerians are stranded here in the country. Certainly, they can't fly. And the financial loss from that could run into potential billions. Well, let's talk about that one in a moment. Stay with us.
All right, and interesting what it is this time around. Now, the striking backed upon by the Nigerian Labour Congress in Imo State has left many passengers stranded at the Sam Mbakwe International Cargo Airport. The strike called by the National Working Committee of the Union was a result of the face-off between the Imo State government and the NLC. Now, the union had accused the state government of assaulting some of its members during the May Day rally in Owerri. The Nigerian Labour Congress barred its members during the rally and said barred all airlines from taking off and landing at the airport after Labour instructed workers in the aviation sector at the airport to down tools. Now, hundreds of travelers who were unaware of the development were caught in the web at the Sam Mbakwe Airport and the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, where the Labour Union had also declared a no flight to Owerri action. Flights to and fro Imo State had been seriously disrupted, forcing passengers coming to the state to make alternative arrangements. So you see, we also have the same scenario here. Now, joining us, virtually, in order for us to have this conversation, is Evans Ufeli, who is a legal practitioner and also a social affairs analyst. Evans, good morning.
Good morning.
We also have Kunle Falawo as well, joining us virtually to talk about this conversation. Kunle, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So one of the airlines, especially Evacuees, complained that they had actually lost about 700 million naira, 700 billion, thereabout, due to this scenario. Just yesterday, due to the scenario that took place, there was no communication that, the air flight operators will be down in tools because they're trying to press home their demand. What do you think could have caused this? Hello, Evans, I'm asking you.
Okay.
Evans, are you with us? Oh, I was asking, I said that due to the situation that occurred whereby, the flight operators down their tools, a couple of passengers were not aware, a specific airline, of course, who usually told that route, said they had lost about 700 million naira, 700 billion naira since that scenario occurred. The question is, what do you think may have transpired for them to not be concerned about arrangements already put in place that made them down to tools, disrupt airlines as well, and left passengers stranded?
Hello.
Evans, can you hear me? Did you hear what I said? Or what I asked you?
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, did you hear the question I asked?
No, I didn't get the question. Your voice just came up now.
Okay. All right, so a strike was embarked upon, right, by the Nigerian Labour Congress, and it left many passengers stranded at the Sam Mbakwe International. Now, based on what the passengers said, they said they weren't aware that there was a strike or that the flight operators were down in their tools. So they couldn't go to their destination. Arrangements were made, and of course that has been cancelled. No communication whatsoever. Then we have a flight operator who usually, uses that route. Basically, they commute. And he has said he had lost about 700 million naira since the situation occurred. And the question is, what may have transpired? What could have led to this breach in communication? How comes the government couldn't try to have a negotiation with the Labour Union whereby passengers who had already made appointments were stranded? They couldn't go to their destination, literally locked down at the Sam Mbakwe International Cargo Airport.
Yes, I think 1 month ago, there was a 2-day warning strike, okay, by the Nigerian Labour Congress, for which the government went into the situation. The Minister of Labour and Productivity had a meeting with the president of the NLC, and the strike was was called off. It never took off because there was an intervention. Okay, 1 month ago, I remember I was to travel that period, and we're looking at the situation before it was called off. And the Labour had made a statement that if their demands were not looked into between a particular period, I think a period of 3 weeks or thereabout, they may have to go back to the said strike. So perhaps that is what is playing out here. The airline in question ought to have been in the know, because the situation now seems to be out of hand. A lot of persons are stranded. There's going to be a lot of economic loss and then social disruption of the activities of individuals. And I think that is not good enough. I think our government should be responsible enough to, address issues that concerns the citizens and take it very serious. Most of the times, what we see or what we hear, you hear them taking a route that will usually affect the citizens negatively. People who have made plans and who have drawn up business activities, we need to catch up with economic and business relations all over the country, left stranded because the government is not very effective in its ways of addressing issues of such concern. And at the long run, you see that governments get to lose too, because the revenue they will usually get from all this interface and transaction, they will lose it to their lack of strategy and method. And we the citizens keep saying that government should put this act in order, make the ease of doing business, make Nigeria a livable place, so that this issue of people living here and there will be contained to its barest minimum. But it does not appear to me that the government is ready to go that way. And we're going to see more of this as long as we are not ready to do the right thing.
All right. Kule, are you there with us?
Yes.
So apparently the Enugu Electricity Distribution Company said the loss of electricity supply in Imo is due to the ongoing strike of the workers. The question is, when face off like this, of course, the residents, the people who pay their tax, who pay bills, are the ones who suffer. So apparently, because of the May Day rally that took place, the NLC is saying that the state government was responsible for thugs who invaded, burnt their properties, hurt a lot of their workers, and so an agreement needs to be signed. But the question is, does the state government need to allow things to evolve to the state it was before, having to listen to the plight of the NLC workers? Because at the end of the day, right now there is no electricity, which also culminates to the fact that it would also affect water supply, especially in some homes that rely on state government water supply corporation. So in this particular instance, how comes we have a situation where government parastatals or government agencies do not act proactively? Rather, they work after something has occurred, after there is a meltdown. Why do we keep having such scenarios occur in this part of the world?
Fortunate that we're back to this kind of situation again. It seems that the only language the Nigerian government understands is when workers, especially down tools, when there's chaos in the community, in the society at large, when workers are refusing to go to work and instigating and all this strike activities are going on and just social disruptions of the activities, and it's very unfortunate, and we can always do better. For a government to function, it needs every of its people actively engaged, and the Nigerian government is not really doing enough at the state level, and also even at the federal level. I would have thought that the NLC would have been able to find a solution after the previous warning strike, and I was also thinking that as members of society, you would assume that the government would be able to figure something out, in the sense that when the grievances was brought towards it, they were supposed to come together and possibly offer an unreserved apology and look for a way to figure something out and take care of those people that were injured. But unfortunately, it didn't go that way. I think there seems to be some kind of I don't care, or like a discal attitude at the side of the government, like it's unforeseeable, untouchable. And that's very unfortunate, because you're working for the people. You're supposed to respect their wishes and opinions. And when things like that happen, why do we have to degenerate to this level or things are done the proper way? It's very unfortunate, and it brings bad light, and it brings very damaging and bad reputation to the country at large.
All right, so I'm coming to you now, Evans. Apparently, NLC and the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodimma, they have bones to pick. They have NLC did say that the leadership, they've had a problem with the leadership style of Hope Uzodimma, and May Day rally was disrupted in Imo State, and NLC is aggrieved at this. Now, taking it upon the aviation sector and basically making Nigerians that were not involved in the brouhaha suffer, flight delays. In fact, flights were cancelled. Now, these Nigerians will have to wait for the airlines to refund them. All right. Now, the airlines will have to wait to get the money from God knows where. Should this have been the way to go for NLC? Having a problem with the government in a state and then taking it upon the aviation sector, should it have been the best? I mean, is there another approach that they would have taken?
I think the approach is completely wrong. You have a problem with the government of the state. What is expected of NLC is to seek legal redress or find some way of addressing the issue other than plunging innocent people into crisis. Okay, you don't because you want to get at the governor, then you open up the terrain and the economic fortitude of people and their businesses, and you grind them to knots because you have to get at the government. Now, at the end of the day, you find out that what they have done so far may not even affect the government in question. Okay, because it does not appear to me that this is going to adversely or personally affect the person in question whom you are aggrieved with. So there would have been better ways of going about it. I think the strategy was primitive. It does not in any way rebase the issue. It does not heal the grievance in question, because even NLC itself, we also have to look at the consequences of the larger consequences. I know in federal government, we also have to bear the brunt of the entire scenario. So it's not a good strategy at all. These are the things we talk about, that people should understand that the social welfare of citizens supersedes all these issues of personal grievances and all that. That the brotherhood of man, transcends the sovereignty of nations. So that very cohesion that the citizen hold as bound, that is the only thing they have, especially in a country where government is not doing much. In a society where you have no social support system, you have no kind of support, no credit for no zero support system. Whatever is left of the citizen is their ability to get done what they ought to have done at the right time, and not to allow for these disruptions coming from regulations and the rest of it. So there should be a rethink to this, and this should not just go unpunished. The culprit for this level of economic loss should be dealt with, so that this stand as a deterrent to whoever is involved in doing what, when, and how. That is at variance with laid down rules and laws and procedures.
The
to be
culprit
fished out and dealt with accordingly.
The culprit in this instance now will be NLC? Hello, Evan.
Well, of course, to get back, because, May Day was disrupted, and then to get back at the governor, you had to disrupt the life of every other person. There should be consequences for this. Somebody should be able to go to court to enforce their fundamental rights of movement. And then they are, of course, there must be culpability. Culpability will lie where it ought to lie, based on evidence. And that is not difficult to get by for those who are affected. There will be class action for what I know, and there will be some level of compensation at the long run.
All right. So who then should address the governor of Imo State? What he's been accused of doing, disrupting the rally. I'm trying to balance things now. Kunle, I'm coming to you now. Who do you think should address the governor? The disruption that is being placed at the foot of the governor of Imo State. So NLC can heave a sigh of relief and say, yes, we did get justice.
I like what the lawyer said, but I think that wouldn't be the next line of action to have happened. If we have to involve the NLC in some way and them becoming corporate. I think there are two sides of a coin, and there's still more sides to it. And I think the state government and the Labour government, the NLC, they both have wronged the Nigerian people. I think both of them are responsible for this. So there could have been a better way to address the situation coming from the NLC, and definitely the state government run by Governor Hope should have also been able to bring those people together and figure out something with them. So both sides of the divide have to bear this responsibility. Now, going forward with that, we tend to have a judicial system that isn't very great, and they're slow paced. It tends to drag a lot, and then unfortunately, there's so many pending cases, and then adding additional cases to it might just be one of those things that the NLC didn't consider. I'm pretty sure the NLC have their legal attorneys and their legal counsels before they embarked on this strike and this disruption of social activities at the airport. But however, there should be a way to figure something out. Again, the government isn't doing enough because, as it is, it's. I think for the idea of the NLC was to hit it where it's hard to bring national attention to this agenda or to this matter, and that's why they did what they did, because they know it's going to grab national attention. Now, if that's the case, it's probably going to involve the federal government at this level. Maybe that's the target of the NLC in the first place. But then again, why do we have to degenerate to this level of disrupting businesses and activities and other people's lives? Just like the lawyer said, there's really nothing to be happy about in the country, and then you're just adding so much pain and inconvenience to the life of already existing inconvenience. It's just very uncomfortable, and I feel sad for everybody that they had their flights canceled. First of all, it's really expensive to fly in Nigeria right now, and those that are doing that, kudos to them. But again, it has to be either for business, a majority of them to take care of other things, and then we're having this type of disruption. It's really, really not encouraging at all.
All right then. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. I must say a very big thank you to you, Kunle Follower, convener, Concerned Nigerians for Good Governance in Indianapolis. Thank you for coming on the show today. And also a very big thank you to Evans Ofeli, a legal practitioner. Thanks for always being with us.
You're welcome.
All right, well, before you proceed, do you know that the electricity firm appealed to its customers to try as much as possible to look out for the equipment? That they should try to ensure that vandals do not attack electricity infrastructure during this period of while they are in darkness.
Like the people should stand watchdog.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're not giving them light, so they should ensure that vandals do not vandalize the infrastructure.
The truth is, yes, I think some vandals vandalize cables and transformers, and they do it for their personal gain.
No, but they're not giving you electricity, yeah? These people are already going to have to suffer. You're asking them to be watched.
It is because of vandalized equipment. Maybe that's why there is no electricity. I'm going to hold forth. I'm going to hold forth. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. So I'm going to hold forth and say, okay, probably because they were vandalized. That is why we don't have electricity. And we know the rains have been torrential.
Oh my
lately.
God, Moses is really advocating. Well done. Okay.
The rains have been torrential. It's been crazy. Now talking about the rains, NIMET, it's NIMET, right?
Yes.
NIMET has warned that people should relocate from low areas to
steep areas.
Yes, to better areas, and then there are certain things that you should avoid. All right, this broke some days ago. I will probably share with you at the before the end of the program. I will put that one up so you get to know what to avoid this period. And if you're driving and the weather gets really bad, to just
park somewhere.
Like I said, I was on the bridge. Was it last Sunday or thereabout, or 2 Sundays back?
When that rain started.
Yes.
Wow.
It was terrible.
It was heavy.
Visibility was gone. And then the bridge got flooded.
Wow.
That's Third Mainland Bridge now. It got flooded. So the cars on the bridge, and it was really early in the morning. Like 7 a.m.
What area of the bridge was it? The Ilubiri towards Adekunle or
towards Adekunle?
Wow.
Was flooded, and then all the cars had to go on a straight line by the culvert.
Wow.
So we should be careful these days. All right, let's get on with sports now. We do have it's all about Victor's strike, all right, and Napoli's victory. Okay, Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen, he scored his 22nd Italian Serie A goal as Napoli drew 1-1 with Udinese to win their third Scudetto title. Now it is the first league crown for the Naples-based club in 33 years since the era of late legendary Argentine football great Diego Armando Maradona in 1990. They won their first league title 2 years earlier with Maradona leading the charge. All right. For Osimhen, it is a dream come true, winning his first major honor in Europe. And his 52nd minute strike drew his side level with Udinese. But it was all that was needed to make the difference. And did it make the difference? It sure did. Now over to England, where Manchester United slipped to an agonizing late defeat to Brighton last night in the Premier League. An injury time penalty cost Manchester United a share of the points after a Luke Shaw handball. Now Brighton will feel they deserved all 3 points after a strong second half display. Well, Manchester United probably would have been content to leave with a hard-fought point. Oh well, that was how it played out at the league yesterday. Let's get on with entertainment, shall we?
Yes, interesting one here in entertainment, though. Kevin Hart has given an update on Jamie Foxx after medical complications. I'm sure we know that Jamie Foxx is going through some health situations. So the comedian shared an update on the Oscar winner 3 weeks after his daughter, Corinne Foxx, announced that her father experienced medical complications. So he went and said, "I'm very fortunate to have the relationship that I have with Jamie and to be able to just check on him and stuff like that," Kevin said, referring to Jamie's family. He said they are being tight and for reasons just about where he is, because Jamie's always been a private person to a certain degree. So he said the good thing is that he's getting better in his situation, and you know, everybody's prayer, everyone is showering love and energy, and there is a very good energy, you know, from right and left, and is being felt. So of course there seems to be a lot of progression on Jamie Foxx's health, and he also says that stars have continued to express and show their love to Jamie Foxx. That's an interesting one.
Yes, it's interesting. It's good. But the agonizing part to that is Jamie Foxx was on set when he fell ill. I think he had a stroke or something, and people were saying the director should have paused recording, but no, they got a double to play his role, and they continued the shoot.
55 years old. That must have been heartbreaking.
You know, it just goes to prove that nobody is indispensable.
That's
No
true.
one is indispensable.
Well, a lot of you who think so, you're not dispensable. Trust me, you'll be replaced as soon as possible. All right, so now let's go to Yula Doche. Nigerians, he's thanking Nigerians for their condolence messages, visits, love and care. We do know that Kambili Chuku, his 16-year-old boy, developed a seizure while playing football with his classmates before passing on. And ever since, personalities and fans have taken to social media to mourn with his family. So I think that was yesterday when he came on his Instagram page to say thank you to all the love and the care and the show of support that you have rendered to I and my family. I think that's a good one. And then, of course, in the entertainment scene, finally, we do have Burna Boy's sister convincing him to attend the MET Gala, which she stated is her best achievement. That's a wow. All right. So her name is Ronami Ogulu, sister to Grammy-winning Nigerian singer Burna Boy and a fashion stylist who recently shared her excitement and pride over her brother's attire at the 2023 MET Gala. Now, the annual event, which paid tribute to the late fashion designer Karl Lagerfeld, took place on the 1st of May 2023 at the Metropolitan Museum and attracted numerous high-profile guests from around the world. If you see that attire, it was quite beautiful. I mean, you know, that's Burna Boy there. So Romani, however, took to her Instagram page to share images of Burna Boy dressed in a blue Burberry suit that she collaborated on with her favorite designer, Daniel Lee. She also proudly boasted about her accomplishment of bringing her brother to the prestigious event.
All right, yeah. So I like his dressing.
Yeah,
he looked
pretty. Look
really
at that.
good.
Yeah, he did. He did. You know,
Making a fashion statement.
The
That's what
Dogo
it's
master.
about. I like the colors.
Yes, the color too blended well with his, you know, and then
So
the gray.
his sister did it, right?
Yeah, she collaborated with her favorite designer in giving him this, will I say, pretty posh look.
Exquisite.
Yeah, it's quite nice. Look at the hair. We should. I told you we should go into the end. We should go to that industry. Cyril Abaku will be our, you know, our producer for most of.
Oh well.
All right, that's what we have on the entertainment segment right here.
All right then. It's a Friday,
It is.
so just stay focused. Stay focused. Don't drink and drive. Don't drink while driving. All right, just stay healthy and don't forget.
What's your itinerary for the weekend?
It's
Because
been
the
a
way you
busy
look
week.
dapper, it's obvious that Moses is occupied
It's
this
been a
week.
busy week, so I'm gonna unwind
Oh, really?
this weekend.
Oh,
Yes.
that's nice.
You know, we can't be working and not spending the money.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Please help me.
So, well, as you also try to relax, unwind, stay safe. And don't forget to like and follow us on YouTube. We are Voice of the People. Now, we promised a challenge. We'll come back to that one. And somebody has to win something.
Something, true.
We have pizzas. We have
Romeo Pizza.
Romeo Pizza. All right. We just might be giving some, and it's large.
Exactly.
It's large. If
And
you've ever
tasty
seen
too.
it, if you've ever seen the Romeo Pizza, it's, I don't know. Should I divide the table into 4? You know, so you get to have an
And it's very
idea.
tasty too. It has several, you have your varieties. Anyone
Yes.
you want,
Yes.
definitely will be given to
So
you.
we'll continue with the challenge, and we'll let you know how you can win. But all you have to do is refer. Let
Exactly.
somebody tag you underneath our videos. Now, the more mentions you get, the more your chances of winning.
Exactly.
All right. So tell your friends to click the follow button, like,
Share, subscribe.
to Voice of the People TV on YouTube.
Yes.
And find us also on Twitter. It's VOP TV on Twitter.
VOP
Follow
TV
us.
Live on
VOP
Twitter,
TV Live.
live.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
So
Twitter,
follow us,
Facebook,
click,
Instagram.
Follow
Share.
and be part of what we do right here. We are pleased to be your voice. My name is Moses Humphrey.
And I am Esther Wachuku. Remember the tagline is show up, speak up.
Bye for now.